Hello, Fresno. Welcome to We Are Change Fresno on 1680 AM Conservative Talk. I am your host, Stuart Webb, with my co host, Sam Cheney. We are going to go over some news today and we're going to talk about some current affairs, things that are going on locally in Fresno and at the national level. Sam, what do we have for our first segment? What's not in your Fresno B?
We're going to talk about the California Highway Patrol and how they're using homeless people as part of their drug recognition evaluator program, and how Fresno is the per capita police shooting capital of the nation.
Yeah, it's getting out of control. We have cops now shooting people without due process, just for no reason, and they get off completely free of any charges. I mean, for the most part, they might get sent home for a couple of weeks, but that's about it. It'll be paid leave. We also have, what was it, Sam? We have the cops actually involving homeless people in some sort of drug program without.
Well, they're giving homeless people out there on the street, right off of 99 on Motel Drive, for instance. They're giving them the option of either going in for drug testing, which officers Highway Patrol are using to evaluate whether people are on drugs. Either do that or go ahead and go to jail.
Yeah, it's, you got to be kidding me. So we're now, most people will say, well, we got to get home. We got to get these homeless people off the street. Where are they supposed to go? There's no jobs. And don't tell me that there's jobs, because the people that we have coming across the border illegally can't even find jobs. And that's also a big problem, is that we have we have people coming into this country illegally that can't find jobs. So we're going to have to support them, and we can't even support our own homeless. But really, it's just a reason for police officers to dehumanize homeless. I mean, if you can literally take a homeless person, there was a story about this homeless lady doing some yard work for a motel, and regardless of, if what she said was the truth, I mean, are we really going to trust what the cops say now at this point? Because they're shooting people left and right. So they picked her up and said, well, you look like you're high, so we're gonna take you, and you either have the option to go to jail, or you can be involved in this drug program that we're using to test on new police to see if they can tell what kind of drugs these homeless people are on. It's absolutely dehumanizing, and people that think that this is okay for police officers to do this, and that's why the war on drugs is only a war on drugs. It's a war on our rights. It's not a war on drugs, okay? These people that are homeless, I'm sorry, they have the right to they have the right to drink. They have the right to do drugs. And so does everyone else in a free society, but we don't live in a free society. So if you think that this happening to homeless people will not come back on the general population, as in the listeners, yourself, everyone, it will, okay? They are testing this on homeless people to see what the public will take, because I'm upset about this, but is anyone else? Most people don't really care, or they're just not in, they don't understand that it's going on, and they think that it's okay. Oh, well, it'll be used to for, I mean, Sam, what's the reasoning?
Stuart, they say that one of the homeless people who was interviewed, and this is an article out of Vice magazine. You could go ahead and search it. I suggest you do. But one of them described it as the Highway Patrol pulls up like something out of the Dukes of Hazard, and then they ask, "Are you high? I think I'm going to test you," and stuff like that, and then don't give the homeless people a chance to respond and force them into the back of their car for testing. And so it's like you said, it's dehumanization and it's exploitation of the already weak, who we should be caring about, who we hear all day from the liberals, the vulnerable population. Well, where are they yelling about this? We need them to start caring about these people, because they still are people, and even if they probably are on drugs, and that's why they're on the street. But for the highway patrol to be using them like this is very it's very strange. It's a police state type activity.
Yeah, and the homeless people admit, they say, well, we don't really have many options, especially with the police that see them every day when they are actually under the influence. So they and these people, there's a reason that they're homeless. They need help and they're trying to survive. They're not too educated, but they do know that they're being abused and manipulated. But what are they going to do? They're homeless. Okay, the police aren't going to try this on some person that makes $100,000 a year. But even then, they're trying to draw blood at DUI checkpoints now. Apparently over the 4th of July weekend, they're going to be doing this. So it's going to come back on the general population. And the thing is, there's going to be more homeless people as this hyperinflationary, debt-based monetary Federal Reserve type system that we have going on globally here. There's going to be so much more poverty than there already is right now. Okay. And I mean, hey, right now people are living paycheck to paycheck and working multiple jobs and can't hardly provide for their families. So we need to care about what the police state, all these police, are doing right now to the weakest of us, because we may be in that category, or people that we love may be in that category sooner than later.
Stuart, it's very possible that the first victims to be rounded up to go to FEMA camps are going to be the homeless. And it's going to be a good excuse, but they're going to put them in the camps just like they put the Jews in the camps in Nazi Germany, okay? It's the same deal here. But moving on, there's been massive protests downtown Fresno, okay? The mainstream media here wants to put a negative spin on it, against these police shootings, okay? And We Are Change Fresno did a television show on our Access TV all about how Fresno is the highest per capita police shooting area in the country. And we see that the numbers from that report are probably understated, because law enforcement all over the state is not reporting correctly. In this article out of the OC Register, they say that the unreported shooting involved in law enforcement involved shootings was up to 67 of unreported shootings between 2007 and 2011. So they're not even reporting the shootings, so we can't get accurate data. But we know from the data we do have that Fresno and California lead the nation in police shootings.
Yeah, I think, they'd probably say that it's unpatriotic to investigate police departments, just like how they said it's unpatriotic to question our own government when they make statements about 9/11, or they try to give us this narrative that is not factually correct. And so, yes, the police state, yeah, they as I've said before, the police have a license to kill. I mean, if these shootings aren't even being reported and people are dying, that would never happen in just a normal situation. But because it's police officers doing this, they don't want police officers getting sued. They don't want police officers going to court and maybe actually losing in court. So it just shows the amount of corruption and the continued police state, what we're going to see here in America. And it doesn't help when you got police officers just picking up homeless people off the street and forcing them into certain programs for their own benefit, or taking them to jail, giving them an ultimatum. Why not? At this point, why not just shoot the homeless person? Since you're not going to report it, you're not going to report that you shot them and killed them half the time. You might as well start offing them, right? And then to question it would be unpatriotic. But that's what we're trying to raise this public awareness about these police shootings, because it starts with, these young young minorities, just black kids, just getting shot in the back, and then, homeless people getting taken away or killed, and it's not being reported. And then it's going to be you. So that's why we're talking about this, because it all will come back. What goes around comes around. So don't think that being ignorant to what's going on and saying, "Oh, you know what? That person was a meth addict anyway," or that black kid, he was no good. He was up to no good, and he had a record, and he's he's not worth anything. Well, that is the kind of attitude that's going to allow this police state to continue, and it will come back on you.
Well, from 2007 to 2011, violent crime has decreased by 25%, but over that same period, police shootings have increased. And so it goes on to say in this article, a disproportionate number of the victims of police shootings are African Americans. And that's the same thing we heard right here in Fresno from Reverend Floyd Harris, telling us how on Monday the police department goes into the neighborhood and it's a bounce house barbecue party, and then on Friday they roll out the SWAT team and lock down the neighborhood and shoot a black guy in the back.
Yeah, it's manipulation, and it's like they're doing psychological warfare on these neighborhoods. It's like, oh, we're your friend, and then, oh, now we have a SWAT team shooting multiple children in the back, or kids, or men, just in the neighborhood. But hey, then the next Monday, we're your friend again. We're the police. And that, you know what that is? That's trying to, the state, not just the police state, but the state trying to build a relationship. Hey, we're your daddy. We're going to take care of you. But hey, when we want to shoot someone, you better be quiet, and you better sit down and shut up and take it. And that is just so immoral. It's just immoral, period.
They are rolling out the militarization of local law enforcement, and it's happening everywhere. The ACLU just did a big report about it. And like we've been yelling about on the television show, they are framing it that if you're a patriot and probably listening to this station, you're the number one threat. All right. So you need to wake up to that fact, America. That is what the criminals in charge are training local law enforcement, that patriots, the Tea Party, are the number one threat. Wake up to it, please, because the chickens are coming home to roost.
Absolutely. And they will come home to roost. Do not think you are going to be exempt from these programs that the police want you to be involved in. Every time that they stop you at a DUI checkpoint, it's already illegal. The fact that they're stopping you on roads that you pay for, they're stopping you illegally. They have no right to search your car or even ask you questions. You haven't done anything wrong, but you just take it because you want to go along to get along, as long as your lifestyle is not affected too much. Okay. But what if they stop you at the next DUI checkpoint and say, we're going to draw blood? And you say no, and they say, well, you're going to go to jail. How are you going to feel about that? Well, that's how they're treating the weakest of society now, like the homeless people. Oh, you don't want to be part of our drug experiment, our little drug program? Well, we're just going to take you to jail. Those are your only options. It's ridiculous. Anyway, folks, we are going to take a short break after a word from our sponsor, FresnoForward.com.
Listen up, Fresno. Are you tired of boring local news coverage? Then log on to FresnoForward.com, the Central Valley's #1 source for independent, local, and alternative news and views. FresnoForward.com is updated daily, bringing you stories on government corruption, local activism, Fresno culture, and so much more. Did I mention FresnoForward.com has no ads or signups required? FresnoForward.com. You'll love it.
Folks, we're back. I am your host, Stuart Webb, with my co-host, Sam Chaney. Sam, what do we have in our second segment for the listeners?
The border crisis on the south border. They're collapsing America into a North American Union. And we have Jerry Brown out there, our great globalist New World Order governor, who's saying that after 2 decades, California voters, we approved that Prop 187 barring public services to those in this country illegally. Well, Jerry Brown's going around telling the League of Latino voters that that just doesn't matter anymore, because now Latinos have the political power in the state, and we're just not going to follow that any longer.
Yeah, Brown was actually very happy about it. He relished the fact that the demographic makes it so in California the political powerhouse is now based on what color you are. And so since we have so many Latinos in the state, they hold the most political power here. And really, and he says that's what's changed, or it's swayed the power, at the state legislature, at the state level. And instead of just following the Constitution and the law, it's now based on, I guess America's now based on how many people are a certain color. That's what makes what laws apply and don't apply. So like right now, immigration, oh, well, you know what? We're just going to, we're going to allow people to come in this country illegally, receive welfare, healthcare, driver's licenses, and we're actually going to say that we like that. And, well, we can't change that because that's just the way it is, because they're the majority now. So the minority is now the majority. So I guess that means that we don't have certain rights. Like the Constitution only applies only when they want it to apply. And that's our governor saying this, okay? He loves it, okay? And he actually said, oh, we're something of the nature of, this is now Brown territory because it's Jerry Brown. So I guess he thought that was kind of funny. He's just literally spitting on the Constitution.
He's spitting on American citizens, on Californians that pay taxes and have been here their whole life and paid into the system. It goes on. This is a quote from Brown now. He says, the school district gets more money based on the number of non-English speaking families that have their children in our schools. So English is not being taught in school anymore, in public schools here anymore. They're teaching them this Common Core, which is teaching collectivism, not the Bill of Rights, not the Constitution. And this is the social engineering restructuring of society toward the collectivist, globalist New World Order.
Yeah, I mean, really? We have the state gets more money for kids that don't speak English? That's just inviting politicians to take advantage of our president not enforcing immigration laws so that, hey, we can get more money for kids that don't speak English. So, of course, they would have a policy to welcome them and allow them to get driver's licenses and allow them to receive benefits and basically just live however they please without being a citizen, which we Americans or Californians can't go to Mexico and do that. So it's just inviting corruption and the welfare state. And like Sam said, the collectivism, that's what's being taught in Common Core, collectivism. Look, collectivism in theory, people say, well, in theory it works. Well, yeah, it never works when you actually try to put it in play, because someone's actually got to be on the top telling everyone what to do. And those people will always be super corrupt, evil people that want to control and dominate you. And collectivism takes away individual power. It takes away the individual's rights. It takes away everything that has to do with being your own person, being an individual. Okay, and that it really is a problem, because in order for our society to progress, individuals have to look at themselves as, yes, I'm an individual, I have power, I can create something, I can invent something, I can go to the moon, I can go to Mars, but when it's a collective, it's all based on serving the state.
Stuart, I want these immigrants to come here and contribute to America and live a good life. But that's not the type of people they're bringing over here. We just had Nancy Pelosi go down to the border, and she declared we're all citizens of America. And so she's essentially declaring that we're North American Union already. And you see here what they're doing. And now I'm going to quote from Pelosi. She says, the humanitarian crisis unfolding across our nation's southern border demands Congress come together and find thoughtful, compassionate, and bipartisan solutions. So, these Democratic politicians, they care more about the people than the people care about themselves. And they've been selling this lie to us for a long time. And I'm sick of it because this is an orchestrated crisis brought on by them. The National Association of Border Patrol officers said that it is predictable, orchestrated, and contrived assault on the compassionate side of Americans by her political leaders that knowingly put minor illegal alien children at risk for purely political purposes. And that is exactly what's happening. They're using the Hegelian dialectic problem, reaction, solution to play on our emotions. And it's a damn crime and it's sick. And they are guilty of child abuse.
Absolutely. When Nancy Pelosi says, well, we're all Americans. Okay, so if being an American is now being a Brazilian, a Guatemalan, a Mexican, a Canadian, a Chilean, Argentinian, are we now all the same thing? I mean, yes, we're all humans, but is being an American and having American values and having the Bill of Rights and Constitution and having a free market society and being an individual sovereign citizen in a free society, so is that supposed to apply now to all those countries? No, it doesn't. What she's saying is that she's trying to bring about a North American Union and to get us to think that way. Oh, we're all Americans. Well, no, we're not. We're Mexican, we're Canadian. We're all different from different countries with different values. So she's trying to bring about this narrative to get us to think, oh, well, we're just global citizens, and she's trying to bring about a one world government, new world order, so that they can say, well, being a citizen is now just being a global citizen. You're not a United States citizen under the Bill of Rights and Constitution, protected by your unalienable rights. You're just a global citizen there to serve the one world government, the one world state. That's what she's trying to get. She's trying to make you think that way. Oh yeah, we're all just, we're global citizens. I mean, we're all Americans. So she's saying that South America and North America are now just all the same thing. It's absurd.
That's what they're declaring the North American Union, pretty much.
Yeah.
And to explain the Hegelian dialectic, okay, it's thesis and antithesis and then synthesis. Okay, so problem, reaction, solution. The problem, border crisis. Advertise in South American papers, bring your people here. That's what our federal government is doing. So we have a massive border crisis. The reaction of the public, oh, government, help us. We need to solve this border crisis. Well, federal government solution, amnesty. Then you have a voting bloc of Democrats who are not assimilated to America, to the Bill of Rights and Constitution, who will vote away to take away all our rights.
And I believe all these politicians, even like Kevin McCarthy, the guy who just took Eric Cantor's spot, I think, as House Minority Leader or House Majority Leader, he's saying, well, it's an opportunity once we get the borders closed. Well, that's not going to happen. So stop calling it opportunity. We are literally, it's an invasion, okay? It's an invasion, and we act like it's an opportunity. Same with Nancy Pelosi. He sounds like Nancy Pelosi. Oh, it's an opportunity to help these children. These children are going to end up living where they lived before, but maybe worse, in even a worse police state, because we are collapsing and we can't sustain this. And so how is that an opportunity? An opportunity to what? Bring about the New World Order? Bring about a North American Union? That's what she means when she says opportunity. But when we have Kevin McCarthy saying that, there's an opportunity as long as we close the border, that's just a bunch of, that's him playing politics. What he should be saying is that, why are we not impeaching our president?
Yeah, we need to impeach Obama right now. He's the head of it, even though he's a puppet. But let me make this clear. I don't hold any ill will against these immigrants. It's not their fault. I blame the federal government because they're the one orchestrating all this, and they need to be held accountable, and Obama for being the head cheerleader of it all. So that's why another reason why he needs to be impeached, going all the way back to Libya when he bombed that sovereign country without congressional approval. But there is some pushback here that we're seeing, Stuart. Down in Marietta, California, where they're importing these illegal aliens on buses to try to help to collapse that town's local economy, there have been protesters out there telling them that no, we're not going to accept these people in our community, which rightfully so. They shouldn't be because they are here illegally.
Yeah, and I think that that's going to happen more and more because these towns are being really affected, and the rest of the country may not feel that it's such a big deal because they're not on the border. Okay, well, how many more illegal immigrant children that we have to take care of? How many is it gonna? I mean, does there need to be like 10 million that come across? How many more before you can't tell food prices just continue to rise because inflation? Because we have to continue to print money so we can sustain the welfare state. Okay, and all other policing of the world, but it's going to affect you eventually. So you should probably get a little bit stirred up about this if you want the Bill of Rights and Constitution, because remember, this is to bring about a North American Union, which will not, I don't believe, Sam, that we will have the Bill of Rights and Constitution under the North American Union. It'll probably be the North American Union Constitution, which could be, I don't know. No one knows.
Stuart, you think we're not represented now by our supposed politicians? Wait till we get a North American Union part of the New World Order, and then we really won't have any kind of say in what goes on in the laws they pass. Some bureaucrat, technocrat from on high is going to rule, and the poor slave serfs used to be Americans with a Bill of Rights and Constitution will have nothing to say about it. If you act up, they're going to take you away to a FEMA camp.
Yeah, the Bill of Rights and Constitution are racist in this 1984 Orwellian police state that we live in. The president, he said here, I've also directed Secretary Johnson and Attorney General Holder to identify additional actions my administration can take on our own within my existing legal authorities to do what Congress refuses to do and fix as much of our immigration system as we can. If Congress will not do their job, at least we can do ours. Okay, so what he's saying is that first, he's not doing his job, period. He's not doing his job. But then he's saying that he's going to continue to do his job because Congress won't, acting like a dictator since they won't pass an immigration bill. But
amnesty.
Yes, even though he's currently not doing he's not following the law right now as it is, but then trying to tell you that he will continue to abide by the law and do everything legally, even though he's doing things illegally right now everywhere. So it's this double think to try to get us to think that he's actually literally he just said that I am following the law, which he's clearly not, and that he will act, which is against the law, in my opinion, acting without Congress to bring about bring about amnesty. So it's a bunch of doublethink, and we need to realize that we're being constantly lied to, but then also told the truth at the same time. It's very weird, and it's
mind control.
It's mind control. It is, and so our president, we need to call for his impeachment constantly, and we will continue to do that on our show.
Stuart, it is a humanitarian crisis brought on by the federal government, okay? You got a Democratic Senator, Gustav Rivera, out of New York, who's proposing legislation that would allow illegal immigrants the right to vote in local and state elections and allow them access to all the benefits that tax-paying American citizens have when they've paid nothing into the system. I cannot see how people can say that I even want to pay taxes to support. I mean, Stuart, why don't I just have my paycheck directly deposited into an illegal alien bank account? I mean, because that's essentially what they're doing here.
Well, we know our Social Security is not going to a bank account with our name on it. We might as well just have our Social Security go straight to the illegals because we're not going to get it anyway. But anyway, folks, we're going to take a quick break after a word from our sponsor, FresnoForward.com.
Listen up, Fresno. Are you tired of boring local news coverage? Then log on to FresnoForward.com, the Central Valley's #1 source for independent, local, and alternative news and views. FresnoForward.com is updated daily, bringing you stories on government corruption, local activism, Fresno culture, and so much more. Did I mention FresnoForward.com has no ads or signups required? FresnoForward.com. You'll love it.
Folks, we're back. I'm your host, Stuart Webb, with my co-host, Sam Chaney. We're going into our third segment of the show. Sam, what do we have on the agenda?
We're going to talk about a local economy here in California. As the collapse continues and they continue to lie and tell us that we're in a recovery from the recession, and I say we never got out of the 2008 recession and we're in a depression, going on government cook numbers. But here's a little bit about how they're blowing up the housing bubble again. A house in Arcadia, California, basically a shack, 2-bedroom, 1.5 baths, 1,500 square foot home sells for $960,000 here.
Unbelievable.
Another home here in San Marino, California, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, kind of small, 1,800 square feet. It's your basic middle class home, maybe. $1.5 million is the price tag for that. And so how can anybody afford it? How can these illegals coming over here afford even housing with this giant housing bubble that they've reinflated because they've never corrected the housing crisis that happened in 2008?
Exactly. In 2008, they should have let the banks fail. They should have let people lose their homes. They did let people lose their homes, but that's because they inflated the dollar so much to allow people to think. They gave the free market false information, and that's what happens when you get the Federal Reserve involved in a free market. It doesn't work. Is because when interest rates are low and there's more inflation, more money creation, people feel that things are on the rise and that they can take out loans and buy homes that they can't afford. And then when the bubble pops, they lose their home because they can't afford. The real wealth wasn't used to actually buy that home or finance that business startup that they had. So there wasn't the demand because the fake money creation, the counterfeiting of the Federal Reserve makes the economy think that there is real wealth when there really isn't. So that's when you're getting all these high prices of these tiny little homes, that's not really what it's worth. And no one can afford to buy that unless you're a multi-millionaire. So, and they're tiny. So even to be able to afford a nice home in Fresno, it's expensive. And there's not many people that can sustain a house payment over $1,000. I mean, come on, really?
They're pumping up the housing bubble, and the Fresno County assessor is loving it because they have increased their tax revenue by almost $4 billion within the last year. And so they're flush with cash, and our county assessor says that what does he say? He says, Fresno County continues to lead the way for the rest of the valley as we move out of the recession. Lies, okay? Straight up lies from the county assessor, Paul Dictos. If he cared about this country and cared about Fresno County, he would tell you the truth. We are in a housing bubble again, and this is all false wealth that the county is falsely getting from people through property tax, and it makes me sick because we're in for the bubble to burst.
Yeah, and it's very troubling to me. I mean, I'm lucky that I don't have a massive house payment and a car payment and all these bills because I know what's going to happen. There's no way this bubble will not pop because it's not real wealth. While we're bringing millions of illegals across the border that we can't sustain, we're in for a rude awakening as far as people not being able to afford hardly anything and not being able to afford their standard of living right now. It is not a real recovery. They're just saying that we're recovering because home prices are going up. That's because the Fed's been printing money, okay? What should have happened is we should have let the banks collapse. We need collapse. In a free market system, you need a collapse to let the free market reorganize and recover. But instead, what they do is they don't let it collapse. They bail it out. And then the so-called recovery that isn't really a recovery continues for 6, 7 years, 8 years. And then an even worse bubble will hit. And that's what's about to happen. We should have let the economy collapse in 2008, at least we could have recovered in maybe, 4 or 5 years. But now we're looking at it even worse, a worse depression when these bubbles all pop. And I think that's why, honestly, that they are trying to use all these illegal immigrants and these children and bring them in here, because the collapse may be so massive that the general public can't handle it, and they're just going to have to say, we have to combine the economy of Mexico and Canada, and there you go.
Cloward and Piven, it's the plan. It's on record to overwhelm the system and bankrupt it. But you cannot take a politician seriously unless their number one issue is monetary reform in this country, because
Agreed.
they're lying to you, all right? We have a debt-based monetary system. We're never getting out of a recession, a depression. Our economy will never be fixed as long as the Federal Reserve runs rampant, does whatever it wants with no oversight, and it's a debt-based monetary system, all right? And that is the economic fact of the matter. And so anybody who's not yelling monetary reform is lying to you, or they are not educated about the matter and they are not fit to hold political office.
I agree. It's one of those two things. They're either completely lying to you or they are not. Honestly, I feel that most people, if they're saying that we're in a real recovery, these politicians, and they actually believe what they're saying, and then they need to be kicked out of office, and we should someone that understands what the Federal Reserve is and central banking and how it operates and how inflation works, someone that understands that needs to be holding office, okay? But most of these guys are just lying to you. That's because, they're I mean, I guess they just sold their soul or something. They don't, like Sam said, maybe they just don't care about this country. But the most important thing for politicians to do right now, if you care about this country at all, is start talking about the Federal Reserve and how we need to move in some sort of, I think we need to have a commodity-based monetary system at some level now, because our dollar is literally backed by nothing. So we need to get back to some value and worth of the way we do business, because dollars aren't worth any. The Federal Reserve notes are not worth anything, and it's unsustainable what's happening. So
we'll get to what the rest of the world is already taking action about in a little bit here, Stuart. But more on the California economy. AB 32 is going into full effect, and one of the unintended consequences, or maybe probably intended, but politicians don't want to admit it, is we're looking at a 15-cent per gallon increase in gas, and we're already over $4 a gallon in gas, and that's going to kick in at the beginning of next year, and no politicians want to talk about it, but you could expect your gas prices to continue to increase because of the fraudulent AB 32 global warming carbon tax, and part of it is going to be paying more for your gas.
And that's what happens under Agenda 21. Wake up. If you like your car, if you like going on trips with your friends, if you like going to the coast, well, in an Agenda 21 setting, which is what all this carbon mumbo jumbo is, that's what it is. It's to put you in a prison in a city in the ghetto, like the Jews got put in the ghettos. That's what's going to happen to the general population, period. And the elites are going to live in their compounds like in Hunger Games. Why do they want us off the road so bad? They literally, has been such that has been their one main goal, is to get us out of our cars in California. Oh, we need to use high-speed rail. Oh, we need to use public transportation. Look, if you like your car at all, you need to stand up to this, and you need to say no to the high-speed rail, no to the carbon tax, and understand why they don't want us driving. It's because they don't want us doing anything. They want us in a prison. If you can move freely, that means that you're in a free society. They don't want that. They want you a slave. You don't have enough money to go to the coast on the weekend with your girlfriend or your wife because you can't make enough. The gas is too high. They want you in where they want you to not be able to be mobile. So if you want to live under that system, then that's fine. You're just going to be paying $10 a gallon, and they'll probably tax you by the mile anyway, like they're trying to do. So it's all about control. It's Agenda 21.
Yeah, they don't care about the environment. It's obvious with the geoengineering, the GMOs, the radiation, and on it goes with the real environmental problems. What they do care about is social engineering and control. And that's what all this is about, Stuart. And it's time for people to wake up and take a hard look at this stuff because, like you said, you won't be. I mean, pretty soon you'll go to work to pay to put gas in your car to go to work, and you won't have much of a life outside of that. And that's what they want for control. Because if you, they want to make us so poor we can't even afford to go protest. Is what they want.
That's exactly right. And that's going to happen. I mean, already right now, you can see the amount of work they've done in just about 10 years. People aren't protesting wars. People don't have the time. They don't have the time or money now to really, and that's the problem. They've broken us down as a society so that we have no drive to fight back at all. So we just enjoy our Netflix and our shows on TV, and we just accept that this is the way it is. Oh yeah, it kind of sucks, but this is just the way it is. Well, that means that they've won, okay? And we can't let that happen. So quit all that extra money that you're spending on those material objects you don't need. Start putting them into spending the money to go protest. Make signs, put gas in your car. I know it's expensive, and then go protest or ride your bike or whatever you got to do. But if you don't do it now, I mean, you won't ever have the chance to do it when they completely collapse this system and make you a slave, a debt slave, anything. They will make you a slave. And so,
Stuart, the mainstream media misconstrues all these issues, okay? And we're telling you how it really is about the immigration. They want a North American Union. They want to bankrupt America, and that's how they're going to make it happen, right? Okay, and so we see that California is going to go ahead and raise the minimum wage from $8 to $9. And oh, yeah, big deal. I don't like poor people because I'm against raising minimum wage. No, I'm against the monetary system and the central bankers because this $1 doesn't mean jack in a debt-based monetary system. And you don't hear the mainstream media saying one word about it because they want to keep you dumb and think you're getting some kind of gift from the state when the state is the one propping up the central bank, okay? And that is the reality of our economy, not that ooh, if you're against these poor people, you must be wanting to hold them down. I'm poor myself, folks. Okay. But I know economics and I know who is driving this system, and it's the state propping up the central bank, and that's criminal right there.
yeah, they're saying that, California hasn't raised the minimum wage in 6 years, right? It's been, and I remember when it went up, when I first turned 18, it became $8 an hour. And so prices of everything have continued to rise in those last 6 years, but the minimum wage didn't go up. So everyone that was working minimum wage jobs, prices continued to rise. So that your dollar it didn't go as far before. So that's how it works. It's a hidden tax. Inflation is a hidden tax and it hurts the labor class the most. So those people working minimum wage jobs for years, prices have been going up, but you don't get paid more. Okay, that's how they, and you also don't understand what inflation is. So how are you supposed to fight it? You don't get it. You don't understand it. Well, start trying to understand it, and then understand that this raising of the minimum wage is not what we need. But it's very tough. It's a tough subject because, like Sam said, we don't dislike poor people. We are poor ourselves, but we understand that raising the minimum wage is all it's doing is going to raise the cost of businesses to operate, destroying the middle class, and the Federal Reserve is not going to stop printing money because they already said that the minimum wage is going to go up again in 2016 to $10. So they're already planning for quantitative easing, and so it's going to continue. But if you don't ever understand it, you can't. Continuing to raise the minimum wage will do nothing.
Stuart, it will do nothing. And as they continue to inflate the currency, we're going to continue to see prices increase on everything when the solution is reform the monetary system. All right. Okay, so you got the border crisis, right? And we should care so much about these people who are not American citizens when our own federal government doesn't care about American citizens, veterans who have served their country, right? That's what's going on here. And so More power to you if you come to this country as an immigrant and do it legally. Isn't it an insult to people who have done that? These illegal aliens coming? I don't want to harp on that, but it's a major, major issue going on right now. To the VA scandal. Let me jump into that. Okay, 50,000 babies are born at military hospitals each year, and they are twice as likely to be injured during delivery as newborns in other hospitals. That's a damn sin. In surgery, half of the system's 16 largest hospitals and higher than expected rates of complications over a 12-month period, the American College of Surgeons found last year. And so they don't care about you, veterans. It's obvious. I mean, it's disgusting what's going on. In this report out of Zero Hedge, the number one hospitals to stay away from are the Magellan Army Medical Center, San Antonio Army Medical Center, Naval Medical Center San Diego, Mike O'Callahan Federal Medical Center, Portsmouth Naval Hospital, Walmack Army Medical Center, Fort Belvoir, sorry about that pronunciation, Community Hospital, and Evans Army Community Hospital. These are the most egregious violations of the veterans' health care are at these facilities. So I suggest everybody look those up and go out and protest them, and don't go to those hospitals, please, because you will not get the health care that you deserve.
And they never will, because we know the state, the New World Order, hates the veterans because those are real Americans that are good people that went to fight for freedom, and the government just took away all their freedom. Zero Hedge also says avoid these hospitals like the plague. I mean, that's how serious it is. So, and it's not funny. I know I'm laughing, but it's just so unbelievable, and what they're doing to the people that have served this country. Anyway, we are going to take a quick break from our sponsor, FresnoForward.com.
Listen up, Fresno. Are you tired of boring local news coverage? Then log on to FresnoForward.com, the Central Valley's #1 source for independent, local, and alternative news and views. FresnoForward.com is updated daily, bringing you stories on government corruption, local activism, Fresno culture, and so much more. Did I mention FresnoForward.com has no ads or signups required? FresnoForward.com. You'll love it.
Folks, we're back. I'm your host, Stuart Webb, with my co-host, Sam Chaney. This is We Are Change Fresno. We're going into our last segment of the show, and thank you for joining us. Sam, what do we have on our last segment?
Well, Senator Rand Paul, a sitting U.S. senator, is saying that, yes, we are arming the al-Qaeda rebels in Syria. And our president now, just in this Orwellian doublespeak, says that we're not sending troops, but, oh, yeah, we're sending troops. And so there's about 800 U.S. troops now back in Iraq. And it's right out of a bad dystopic sci-fi novel. We are funding both sides. So we're going and fighting the same guys that we're funding to overthrow the sovereign government of Syria in a proxy war against Iran, which we're fighting in Syria. Now U.S. troops are going to go in there, and they're going to wind up fighting them too, and we're supporting them with our Air Force.
The terrorists are on all these different, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. It's the New World Order, the global elites' personal army. Okay, they use them for whatever they want, and then also send our troops to go shoot at them and put our troops in danger for elite bankers. And we've got Rand Paul literally on Sean Hannity's show speaking the truth, and Sean Hannity can only say, well, the reason is because Obama took troops out, or else this wouldn't have happened if we wouldn't have taken the troops out. Well, Hannity, it's his narrative's falling apart, because we know that the Iraq war was a complete sham in the first place, and having troops there, nation building, was not. We've taught, and we know Iraq veterans personally said we were not doing anything constructive there. We were not building democracies.
They were training for the police state here at home.
Yes. And so Hannity can blame the Obama administration all he wants, but our government currently is now funding both sides And like Rand Paul said, I mean, Hannity can't deny it. So he can only put the blame on Obama because that's a part. He can do that because that's partisan, and he's supposed to be this Republican conservative that just badmouths Democrats. Look, our government's half Republican too, buddy. Okay, the Congress hasn't impeached Obama. It's because they're all working for the same team, and so are these big talk show hosts. They have to backpedal, and when they're talking to Rand Paul, because they can't discredit Rand Paul. They can't. It's like trying to discredit Ted Cruz. So they're going to run into some problems when more senators say, yeah, we're funding the terrorists and then also fighting them in another country. That doesn't make any sense. And when you say that to the average person that doesn't even know what's going on, they would understand that that's absurd.
Stuart, it pisses me off, okay? It makes me very angry to know that this is going on. And we've been saying that this is going on for a long time, but now we have confirmation from Rand Paul, and I want to give him credit for speaking the truth on this matter. Somebody had to, for God's sake. But we see the federal government giving guns to the Mexican drug cartels in Operation Fast and Furious, leaving the border wide open so terrorists can come over here. Organized crime, they can smuggle over whatever. We didn't even talk about all the diseases that these illegal aliens are bringing over here. But so you got them giving guns to Mexican drug cartels. You've got them giving guns to Al Qaeda. And then here in California, they want to limit our Second Amendment with AB 1014, which is brought forth by Des Williams and Nancy Skinner, and this is a reaction to that false flag shooting that happened down in Santa Barbara when the guy was obviously whacked out of his mind on drugs. He was a narcissist. I mean, you could go watch his videos if they're still up on YouTube, and you could see that he was seriously mentally deranged. But this bill, AB 1014, wants to go ahead and proactively confiscate firearms and hold them for 1 year with no due process, merely based on an accusation made by an intimate family member, a law enforcement officer, or a mental health professional. And so you can see right there, do away with due process based on a rumor. They can go ahead and take your Second Amendment. That's what they're proposing here in California as we arm Al Qaeda and arm the Mexican drug cartels.
Yeah, and the first thing I'm going to do if this bill passes, I'm going to call up the police and say Dianne Feinstein she's this crazy, insane, mentally ill senator that we have, and she needs to have her guns taken. Oh yeah, because she's a strong believer in her right to have a firearm, just no one else. And remember, it's all for our safety and for the children. Let's just talk like this. It's for our safety. It's for our children. No, we'll protect you. We'll protect you. We're just going to open up the borders to terrorists and gangbangers and drug cartels. It's okay. We'll protect you. That's what they want. They want you to just be in a beta state, literally just a zombie, okay? So if this passes, we are going to have to call for all these insane politicians because they're clearly mentally unstable trying to pass all these laws. Maybe we should actually just take the weapons away from the people that tried to get this bill passed. Whoever introduced it, we might have to call for their arms to be taken because they are mentally ill.
Skinner. She's one of the ones.
Moving
on here real quick, too, we're in the interest of time. A story that the mainstream media won't talk about and should talk about is a meeting of 133 countries called the G77 plus China, okay? This is the rest of the world saying, hey, United States, we're done with you and your debt-based monetary system, your fake Federal Reserve notes, we're done. And so I suggest everybody go and search that G77 plus China, and you'll see that they had a big meeting talking about their own new world order where the United States is knocked down to size. And this is going on. You won't hear about it in the mainstream media. In the interest of time, we have to move on. Stuart, I want to talk about some solutions now. These are recommendations given to us by Defend Rural America. I suggest everybody go to Defend Rural America because that's a great patriotic site, and they tell you how to take back our country. And I'm going to go through a list of 9 solutions that they offer. Assert the jurisdictional and constitutional control which belongs to you. Take control of your lands and resources. Take control of your energy. Build your own trusted communication systems. Create your own state chartered banks. Accept payment in gold and silver. Support local food production and distribution. Support local gun manufacturing and munitions factories. Train and arm your citizens, and so on. And so right there are some solutions that every American needs to take. But the key one is to know your jurisdiction and have a constitutional sheriff. We didn't even get into Mims is supporting amnesty. Okay. She says that's the solution, is just go ahead and give amnesty. And so she wants to play both sides as being a constitutional sheriff, but then turns around and supports blanket amnesty. So somebody needs to call her out in this county about it.
Yeah, Mims continues to disappoint, and people give her some credit, because she gives out concealed carry all the time, permits and stuff. But really, we don't need a concealed carry to carry legally. It's the Constitution that says we have the right to bear arms, period. But, she says, the shortage of efficient legal immigration opportunities has facilitated the black market for these cartels and criminal organizations. Reforming our broken immigration system is the most effective way to promote legal channels of entering the United States and to keep our communities secure by undermining criminal enterprise. Wow. But Margaret Mims, she says that about immigration, but she's completely against pot legalization, I believe. Yeah, she's for the federal government coming in and shutting down pot grows. So she's for drugs being illegal, but she's okay with people coming into the country illegally because we need to fix that because these criminal enterprises, the black markets created this criminal enterprise. Well, that's the same thing that happens with drugs, Margaret, and I think you know that, but you're just playing ball, go along to get along. So I don't buy it, and
well, she's being strong-armed by the federal government
exactly.
with their monopoly on force and through the federal grants. I mean, it's hard to blame her, but you got to call her out on it.
Yes, and when I saw that, black markets, she wrote this, I believe, it creates black markets. That's what happens with drugs. We need to legalize freedom in this country, okay? And that I'm calling everyone, sheriffs, everyone, anyone who believes in the Constitution. We need to live in a free society again. That's the only way we're going to get through this, even if we didn't have the debt-based monetary system, which helps facilitate tyranny. But even if we didn't have that, we still need a free society. We need a free market, okay? That's the only way we're going to be able to have prosperity. So it's just...
Making drugs illegal creates the black market.
Exactly.
And we know that the CIA ships in most of the cocaine and heroin into this country, all right? So it's obscene to sit here and perpetuate a losing drug war, which will never win. Look at Portugal, for instance. They decriminalized drugs, and they've seen a drastic reduce in crime and in drug addicts because it's not hip and taboo to do drugs when they're legal, okay? So Portugal's a great example, and we're losing the drug war and our own criminal CIA shipping the drugs in.
Folks, we're about out of time. This is week 4 of our show. We really appreciate everyone who's listening, and we'd appreciate your support. We actually just picked up a new sponsor that we'd like to give a shout out to on the radio. Sam?
I want to thank Tops Military Supply. Everybody should go over there for their prepping supplies on 605 West Shaw Avenue in Clovis, California. Please go by and see Chris and ask for Top.
Check us out on YouTube. We are Change Fresno TV. Just search it on YouTube. You'll find our channel. And go to our Twitter, follow our Facebook, and just support the broadcast and tell your friends about it. We really do. The reason we're doing this is because we care, and we can't sit on our butt anymore and do nothing about it while this is going on. And there's so many things we can do. We all have power. You just start thinking about things you can do. Just even thinking about, hey, what can I do today to cause trouble for the New World Order? A peaceful way that I can cause trouble for them. Wake another person up. Read a book about economics, the gold standard. Read. There's so much information out there, and it's at our fingertips. We just need to utilize it, and we can build a better society. I truly believe that, but we're going to have to collapse before we do that, or else we're going to continue this this debt-based monetary system society that we live in.
Learn to recognize the mind control techniques that the social engineer technocrats are using against us. One of the main ones is the Hegelian dialectic problem reaction solution. Please look it up. And on this 4th of July, Independence Day, please read your Declaration of Independence. Peace, love, and liberty. Good night.
Good night.